Hello there, and welcome back. This is episode 14 of my Realignment 2028 series as the expansion team Oakland A's. We just finished the 2030 season, and it was a pretty good season overall for us. I'd even say very good season. If you haven't watched the playoffs yet, I would highly recommend doing that, as I'm going to tell you what happens. And if you care about the results, yeah, you probably won't want to hear that. So that should be enough time for you to click away if you haven't watched it and you want to. But we went up against the best team in the league by record, the Seattle Mariners in the ALCS, and lost in a 7-game series. We battled, and they eventually won the World Series against the Atlanta Braves. So, we at least took them to the full 7 games. We finished with the third best record in the league. All in all, pretty dang good season. But that doesn't mean that there's not still room for improvement in the off season, because if we just run the same team back, you run the risk of maybe stagnating or declining for some of the older guys on our team. Yeah, that said, I don't think we're looking to make a lot of drastic changes in the off season. Let me just go down my list here so I don't forget anything. International free agency. Off season started on the 2nd, and the showcase isn't until the 6th, so I haven't gotten a chance to do the scouting yet for that because players haven't been revealed. So once they are revealed, I'll do that, but I want to get everything in on the first day of the off season, dev lab and all that. So we'll get to that. Waiving people, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. Just 4 people on waivers for us right now. We might look to bring some of them back, either as on a minor league contract or throwing them on the 40-man roster near the end of arbitration, and then bringing them back, and waiving them immediately after free agency starts. So we pay them the minimum for the year, but we don't lose them to free agency. I know I went over our roster a little bit before. Well, first of all, personnel is totally fine. Like I took a quick glance here, and even though reputation is all okay, fair, poor, these guys under the hood, so to speak, are pretty dang good. Like, outstanding development, mechanics, aging, which is what I care about for managers. They've got solid categories, and I think all my pitching and hitting coach have good, excellent or good or outstanding or higher in teaching whatever is relevant to them, either pitching or hitting. Yeah, so, and I'm pretty happy with our roles at the major league level too. The only one, I guess, is Sean Tipton is only average at teaching running, but whatever. I don't think that's the biggest deal. So roster eval, I kind of went over our summary of how our team did last year. For next year, I guess you could argue we could look to add another starter, given that, yeah, I mean, I think we'll be getting Snelling back from injury, which is key because he was, our solid at least third starter for most of the season. You could make an argument maybe second. We're going to have Jones and Imanaga back. Bautista did well. Ferris, hard to say. Like, his FIP was not good, but his ERA was. And he did well in the playoffs, too. Like, he started 2 games for us, only allowed one earned run across those 2 games. The meltdown in game, was that game 4? Yeah. That was the game Colt Emerson went 5 for 5. Yeah, that was a rough one. Anyway, you can never have enough starting pitching, but we've also got a lot of guys in the minors that could look to come up this year. Guys like John Clevenger, Karsten Svem, and our guy TJ Straps, who's currently playing in the Arizona Fall League and not in AAA. But all three of those guys, I think, have a chance to play on the big league roster this year and start games for us. So, you know, we could look to be okay on starting pitching. The other area where I think we're potentially weak is we don't really have a good, like, power bat like Brent Rooker, who will not be coming back for us next year. Um, yeah, he was basically a full time rental. I don't want to pay him $13 million a year for just being a pure DH, and um, yeah, we don't really have like a solid like first base power hitter kind of guy. Like we were 14th in home runs. 1 second. All right, sorry for the awkward cut there. Yeah, we don't have like a lot of power on our team, and that's an area where we could definitely look to improve. Batting war wise, we're fine. Other batting categories we could look to improve. Our pitching was good last year, even though it was a little up and down throughout the playoffs. Like overall, pitching was good. Defensive efficiency and zone rating were good. Our team really good defensively. So yeah, we'll probably just look to make maybe a few additions on offense, see who's out there, see if we can maybe get someone in trade. But yeah, not looking to make a lot of drastic changes here. The only thing that might put a wrench in that is the top two free agents that are available. Uh, you know, Jackson Holiday is going to be a free agent if Baltimore doesn't re-sign him, which they still might. Um, at age 26, and you have to imagine he's going to command a lot of money, but he's also only 26 and has played, at a pretty consistent MVP level throughout this entire save, pretty much. Like, yeah, he's an elite second baseman and projects to be that for quite some time. The other interesting name is Evan Carter. Not quite as interesting because he is 28. His injury proneness is wrecked, and he did miss a few games last year. You know, well, he missed 9 months starting in August. So I guess like he, in a way, lucked out that he, missed the end of 2029, and then would that have? I think that potentially stretched into the beginning of 2030, if my math is right. Um, August, yeah, it would be through like May, I think. I mean, there's an easy way to tell if he has stats. He has stats for April, but not for March. Okay, so he either way, he missed a bunch of time. Is the summary here, and wrecked injury proneness for someone who's probably going to command a long term deal is scary. So the Corbin Carroll, also potentially an interesting name. He's not really a power hitter, but he is a good hitter, and he's 30. Um, he's played at a consistently good level. Um, 2026 looks like he had an injury potentially. He strained Achilles tendon and then broke his elbow and missed 4 to 5 months. Yeah, so outside of that season, he's put up 4 or 5 WAR every season since 2025, which is good. He's 30, so he'll probably start to decline. He is fragile, which, also for the same reason, uh, Evan Carter, sorry, it's a bit scary to sign him long term. So I don't know if we're necessarily going to be in on these guys. Like Jackson Holiday is intriguing. He's going to cost a comp pick. It'll probably be a first round pick. I'm not sure how that formula works exactly. He will command a lot of money. And we did just sign Volpe to play second base. The only way I could see that working is if we traded either Volpe or Santana, and if we traded Santana, slide Volpe over to shortstop, where he could play, but I don't really like that option. I think so. We're still a smaller market team, I guess, or at least in terms of fan base and all that. We're tied for the ninth highest budget. So, our owner, Marcus Heinsohn, is fairly generous with his fiscal givings. So that's nice. He's not John Fisher. We'll see how things kind of go once we get into free agency. So, So the bottom line for my roster eval is maybe some starting pitching, maybe look at some of the top guys, try to look to bring in some kind of power bat if we can, either through free agency or trade. Since we do kind of have a slot at first base open, I could see either Coffey or Keyshaw being a starting first baseman for us next year. I think a lot of the other slots are pretty locked down. I'd say at least half the slots are pretty locked down. And those, Volpe, Santana, Baldwin, Armstrong, all will be starters next year for sure. Everyone else, there's a bit of doubt there. Brent Rooker will not be on the team. I feel like I'm unfairly harping on him because he had a bad playoff series. He did come in at the trade deadline and put up a 118 OPS. He wasn't awful, but he also wasn't good enough to be an everyday DH, especially for $13 million a year, age 36. So he will be leaving in free agency. Dev Lab, let's get into that a little bit. I basically just went down the list of our top prospects for the most part and just did whatever made the most sense. So Control for Straps and Clevenger. Engberg was our first round pick last year. I have him focusing on two strike. It's because I like his avoid Ks to be higher. I think that will help him, do well faster in the minor leagues, which will eventually, lead to more development, ideally. DeJesus outfield defense. I like to do one or two short ones first because, if we do make a trade, or I think it works out where if we acquire someone interesting in Rule 5, they would potentially be eligible for a long program after that. DeJesus is one where we still want to keep improving his outfield defense, so he'll get in for a long pick after that, but a long program after that. But he's definitely still considered one of our top prospects. Although, I did miss getting in a program for because he's currently on loan. Our Scott Sharpton, there we go. I wanted to get him into a program, and I forgot to throw him in there. So he'll get first dibs whenever I pull someone out, or for one of these slots when the short-term program finishes. So we've got Svem increasing movement, Zimmerman bat speed. I'd like his power to be a little bit higher. That's probably, that's his lowest category right now and still has a bit of room for improvement. So maybe he can be our power hitting first baseman of the future. We'll see. Bourgeois is interesting. I mean, I don't usually focus on relievers, but his stuff is intriguing. Um, he's even considered a future bullpen slash emergency starter. I mean, if his slider gets up to an 80 potential, there's potential there. I mean, if you look at what the Yankees did this year with Minho on, like, he basically only has two pitches and a 45 level sinker. Like, that probably allows him to be a starter. But yeah, he was a very effective starter for them. I mean, he led the league in most major pitching categories and will almost certainly be the Cy Young winner this year. Um, yeah, and not saying Bourgeois is to that level, but there's some interesting options with him potentially. Yeah, I mean, I could have him try to even learn another pitch. That is an option, and then he would definitely be on the borderline of starter. But we do have a lot of good starter prospects already, so I don't necessarily want to burn a slot on that at the moment. Steven Martinez still looking to increase his power a little bit. He got plenty of major league playing time for us, but he still is only 23 and has a little bit of room left to develop. So we're going to develop him. Why not? Same with Wade Shelley. He has room to develop for his contact gap. He could still keep potentially improving stealing ability and defense. There's no cap on those. I went for avoid Ks just because that he struck out over 100 times last year across 400 plate appearances. That's pretty high. I'd like that to be a lot lower, and I think he'd be more effective. And then finally, Santana base stealing technique, just because he's at a 75, and I think it'd be funny to see if it could get up to an 80. And Santana also still only 25. Waiver claims. I did only put in one waiver claim, which is for Marco Carbajal, which I don't know why he was on a big league roster to begin with, like on a 40-man roster to begin with. Like, he's only 20 years old, and like he doesn't have a lot of potential left to fulfill, but he's also only 20 years old. So if he gets good, like TCR, or I mean, he can even potentially pitch at the major league level right now. Like, he pitched in 18 games for Houston and had a sub-4 ERA, so he's worth spending a claim on for sure. Budget, I think we kind of looked at that already. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to dive too deep into the budget details, but we are currently under budget, or at least we'll finish the year with a positive balance. Yeah, and that's not even taking into account, any potential playoff revenue, which, last year we got $19 million in playoff revenue, which let us turn a profit. And I think we had budgeted for initially 25 million for the draft, only spent 12. This year I'm budgeting 15 million just because I think that's more realistic, and because the recommended draft slot amounts are only 5.6 million for us currently. I feel like that number kind of fluctuates a little bit depending on I don't know what it depends on actually, but yeah, I'll maybe adjust that as we get closer. I do want to have a higher budget than our slot, because that let us get guys like Dupuis in the second round, who was an impossible signing, but we offered him $8 million and he's come to play for us. So um, yeah, who needs college when you can play minor league baseball for $8 million? I mean, I think that's an easy choice. And then finally, let's go to arbitration and free agency. So this is where I made some interesting decisions here. Like, my house rule for this save is I'm not signing anyone to long-term contracts until their first year of arbitration. And we had some interesting names pop up in first year of arbitration. One is Jackson Ferris, and coming off an injury, I don't think it makes sense to sign him to a long-term deal. We're definitely bringing him back for another year. I mean, he's got another offer for next year. Depending on how he does, he could be eligible for a long term, but yeah, it's just very. I'm not sure. He was so good in 2028, looked like he was on his way to being a potential ace for our team. Then he had the really tragic injury, tore his rotator cuff, missed almost the entire 2029 season. Did play for us a little bit in the playoffs that year. Started the year in AAA for us this year and did okay. And then went on to start a few games for us and had a sub-4 ERA. So I really don't know what to think of him at the moment. But he's coming back next year. The one name that's arbitration eligible that will not be coming back is Johnny DeLuca. He had a great 2029 for us, not as good 2030. He did finish with a positive OPS plus, but I just don't see him contributing $8 million worth of offense on our team. Like, I think it makes more sense to save that money and spend it elsewhere. Keyshaw is also kind of on a prove-it deal this year. Like, he, almost had 2 WAR for the season. Like, he still projects to be decent. He can play multiple positions. Like, he had a 3 WAR season the year before when you count his combined numbers with Minnesota and us. But, yeah. Excuse me. Then the last 2 names on here, Robbie Snelling and Santana. I did go ahead and offer long-term deals to both of them just because they've demonstrated over 3 seasons. Snelling not as much as Santana, but still has been consistently good, right? And he was hurt at the end of this year, so he didn't get to play in the playoffs for us. But before that, he had a good year. And then 2029, he was probably our best pitcher. So I went ahead and offered him, let's see, I think if I go to offer history, you can see a 6-year deal. The final 2 years of that deal are team options. So we really have him for 5 years, and you can see that it decreases in value every year. So we'll start off paying him only $6.6 million too, and then 543, and then if we want to pick up his 2 options at the end there, they're $9.6 million, which isn't that bad. And if he's still pitching at a high level, we'll gladly pay that. So not a high cost to keep him in the fold. And same for Santana. Like, he 8 years, $64 million. But again, those final 2 years are team options. So we've got 6 years of control on him, which buys out his entire arbitration, and we're still only paying him like $8 million next year, then 7 the next 2 years, 5 the next 2, and then 4. Like, that's not going to be a bad hit, even if he does end up declining some. And he's had 3 consistently good years at the major league level. 2.2 WAR, 3.6, and then 3.2 this year, despite missing about 30 games with injury as well. Fielding stats, still a very elite defender, arguably one of the best defensive shortstops in the league. So, we're going to lock him down fairly long term. So we'll have a good amount of salary committed for next year and some of the future years, but still projecting, I think, I'll have to see how it balances out with. It still has DeLuca on the books. He will not be on the books, but we don't have the Snelling contract or the Santana contract on there, so it'll probably roughly balance out. We don't have Schwarber's salary on the books anymore, which, by the way, if you're curious, he went on to post negative zero point 0.9 WAR for Texas last year, and we got Sean Gamble out of it, who posted only zero point 0.5 WAR for us, but it was positive WAR. And Gamble's a guy that can play multiple positions as a backup. He's only a 2-star outfielder, but I think he's a 3 or 2.5-star second baseman. Yeah, so he kind of projects as a decent backup across just about every position. I probably wouldn't play him at shortstop or center field, but he could play there if we had to do that. So, yeah, I don't regret making that trade. Yeah, and then free agency, we'll have to see who's available, see if any trades make sense. Um, and then other free agency notes, Tyler Anderson will not be coming back. He declined a bit and is 40 years old, so I think it makes sense to let him go. Landon Robb, I kind of waffled on a little bit and ended up offering him a 2-year deal. The second year's a team option. He's getting paid about $3 million, 3.5 maybe for both of those years. So his final numbers last year weren't that bad, and I can bring him back for decently cheap. So why not? Ryan Fernandez also coming back for fairly cheap, 3-year deal. I think the final 2 years of that are also team options, but he's taking just $3.2 million, which is actually less than he made this year to play for us. So yeah, he's 32. He had great numbers last year, both for the Mets and for us. Hopefully he comes back and is consistently good again. I think we had re-signed Griffin Jacks as well earlier in the season before his playoff meltdowns happened, but he was a good closer for us for most of the year, and so hopefully he can kind of bring back that mojo next year and be a solid closer for us again. I think it'll be his job kind of to lose next year, barring something like Bourgeois getting absolutely crazy numbers increases and becoming like a Chapman or Rivera level of reliever, but we'll see. Uh, and yeah, I think that's basically all to note in the off season so far. I'll show international free agency once those guys are up and active, who I'm kind of targeting, what my plan will kind of be for the guys in international free agency. I won't necessarily know until they're out there if it makes sense to go for one really top guy or kind of spread the love around a little bit. Last year we had Sutsumi, and he just looked like an amazing player. If he fulfills his potential, I think it's rare that you get someone who has really, really good defensive ratings and then projects to be an incredible offensive player as well. So if he fulfills that potential, he has a chance to be elite. I mean, 5-star potential, and he truly is a 5-star potential player, I think. So we'll have to see how he does. I mean, he's still only 17, still very raw, right? So will he fulfill that potential? I don't know, but he was worth taking a chance and spending basically our entire signing bonus last year. If we have another player on that same level, we'll think about it. But otherwise, yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's out there. Probably will be the next thing I show on camera here. So stay tuned for that, and I'll keep you updated throughout the off season here. So it is now November 7th. day after the International Free Agent Showcase. I did one day later so we could do player development stuff as well. But yeah, William Hurtado looks interesting in this bunch. I think he's probably the most interesting player out there. Gonzalez looks pretty interesting. I mean, I think all of these guys have some interesting characteristics to them. Hurtado's only 15 and projects to be, I mean, he's more of a third baseman, I think, than either second base or shortstop, but has great hitting ratings and, yeah, only 15 years old, almost 16. He'll be 16 by the time we actually do the IFA signing. So, um, yeah, we showed Gonzalez. Herrera looks interesting as well. He's already slightly developed a little bit in all of his hitting categories, which is nice. So he could maybe come in and play in the minors pretty quickly, which is good because he's almost 18. Ramirez doesn't have much defense to speak of, but has some good hitting ratings. That's most of the remaining guys, except for Ortiz, who has excellent defense and pretty good hitting ratings. So he stuck him on there. Both Juan Rodriguez and Jorge San Miguel look pretty solid and are super cheap. So if we want to sign a lot of guys, those would probably be guys that we look to grab. Navarez and Andrade are both kind of like high power guys that I liked, and same with, well, no, Romero's lower on power, high contact, doesn't have much defense again. Like a lot of those types of hitters in here, you know, pretty good hitting ratings, not good defense. Defense is easier to improve in the development lab, or at least like you could focus on defense. It's not necessarily easy, but speaking of development lab, we just went past the first few days, so here is where they all stand as of a few days into it. We've got 3 excelling ratings, 2 on track, and the rest frustrated. So about a 50-50 success rate so far, which is pretty good considering I did put a lot of hard programs in there. Yeah, so we'll have to see how these go. Hopefully these excelling ones stay excelling, especially TJ Strapadopoulos. Like his control is really the only thing that's kind of lacking at the moment. Like he is still walking a decent amount of guys. If he can get these ratings up a little higher, he could see big league time next season, and he's our top prospect, I believe. Well, Sutsumi might technically be higher than him in our prospect list, but I don't necessarily agree with those ratings. Susumi's still very raw, and Strapadopoulos is like knocking on the door of the major leagues. So I think he would be a more valuable prospect to me. Yeah, OOTP loves to value the high potential super young guys really, really highly, even though, it's not guaranteed at all that they're going to pan out. So I did officially re-sign Robbie Snelling and Adrian Santana, so they're both locked up long term now. At least I'd consider that long term. If we look at the salaries page, like we have Santana under contract through 2036, Snelling with 2 team options after that, and then Snelling through 2034 with 2 team options after that. So we are definitely in a window right now, and I think it makes sense to keep extending that as long as possible. We are at roughly the same payroll with DeLuca not in there, so minus 8 million. So yeah, about 140 or 158 or 138. Sorry, I can do math, I swear. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of salary falling off the books too from Kyle Schwarber, Brent Rooker, Tyler Anderson. None of those guys are going to be back. Landon Ropp, I did offer a contract, so he may be back. And Cooper Kinney, he's an interesting case where, it costs $2 million to bring him back next year, so I could take a chance and let him go to free agency and just try to re-sign him there. But I don't know. He still is not arbitration eligible, and he had two good seasons for us and then fell off hard last year. Like, did solid in the minors, but every time he got major league playing time, across 200 at bats, he had a OPS under 100, negative WAR on the season. Um, yeah, so I've also tweaked his development too to focus heavily on power, not so much on running and defense because he's going to be playing first base and those really aren't as important. So um, and he does have some power potential left to fulfill. Like, he's 27, so the odds of him actually fulfilling it, I don't think are great, but we're going to do what we can, give him kind of one more year to see what he can do. He does only cost $2 million, and I think the potential upside outweighs any downsides of him. If he doesn't do well, we can just cut him. And that sucks to say about a guy who was arguably our best player in 2028 and really good in 2029. But yeah, it is what it is. So next up, we've got various awards. I don't think there's much notable. Yeah, most of the we got Rop and Fernandez pending. They'll probably both be back next year. Got to make some decisions on some of these guys. Montero's a guy who maybe will throw on the 40 man and then waive again just to keep him around for another year. Like, he was solid depth. He put up an OPS plus just south of 100 and can play multiple infield positions, can play outfield in a pinch. Like, probably wouldn't mind keeping him around. And someone like Byron Churio might also be in the same boat where he's never really impressed in the major league playing time that he's gotten, but he's decent minor league depth. Yeah, speaking of minor league depth, we also did put in one more waiver claim, Zion Rose, who is kind of in that same boat of looks to be solid minor league depth outfielder kind of guy who also has some catching ratings. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to play him at catcher, but again, you could in a pinch if you had to. So let's go ahead and get through the awards, and then yeah, we'll probably go to free agency after that. So November 16th, just finished simming through awards. Yeah, Great Glove Awards, Gold Glove. We did lose out on the Gold Glove at shortstop to Starlin Kaba. I can't really complain about that one. The one I can complain about is Robert Hassel III winning Gold Glove in center field. Like, he only has a 45 rating, 55 range. If you look at his fielding stats, like, he put up negative 17.3 zone rating and won the Gold Glove from that. I mean, he did save 10.3 runs with his arm, but just like, I don't know how that's a Gold Glove worthy season. That's just crazy to me. And then Lawrence Butler, yeah, I mean, he was okay, but yeah, kind of a weird one there. Austin Wells at catcher, had a lot of good framing runs. Like, I can agree with that, but yeah, weird one. Ezekiel Tovar won shortstop for the Rockies, and then Brenton Doyle also won center field for the Rockies. He has continued putting up solid numbers in his first year after signing that big contract. Let's see. Relievers. Yeah, Brock Burke actually wins over Munoz, which is surprising to me. Brock Burke, yeah, I mean, they were both good, but you would think Munoz would win that over him. He had more saves, he had better WAR, he had a slightly worse ERA, but I don't get that really. Colin Snyder got votes for us, which is nice. I mean, he was quite good last year. Can't really debate that. Best NL reliever was Anderson Mercado for the Rockies. acquired via Rule 5 draft. I mean, he was also very solid in relief there. Yeah, the Rockies, wow. Top three relievers are all Rockies pitchers. That's crazy. They finished third in bullpen ERA despite playing at Coors. Okay, yeah, that's a good bullpen. All right. So Platinum Stick, I do know. Yes, we had Drake Baldwin win for our team the Platinum Stick Award, as he probably deserved to. You know, he had a great season. Was probably our best overall offensive player for sure. And then, yeah, none of these other ones are too surprising here. Yeah, and then in the National League, let's see. Cam Smith now in the Expos and playing first base, putting up good numbers. Was a Cubs prospect that they traded for Kyle Tucker, and then he got traded to the Rays in 2025. Just, yeah, for Shane McClanahan, which I guess that was a win now trade, and then the Rays became the Expos, and Cam Smith has gone on to have a great career for them. Yeah, played 1 year in what was Tampa Bay, and then has been solid ever since. Yeah, just a lot of solid seasons. Jackson Merrill had probably an MVP worthy season. We'll see. Rookie of the Year. We do have Brian Bautista getting votes, which is nice. He finished in fourth. Who won MVP? Yeah, Ryan Gibson for the Tigers. He got hurt in the series against us, I believe. Yeah, he got hurt in that first game. But he looks to be a good young shortstop. Like, he's only 24. Still has a lot of potentially to fulfill. And Johnny Level finished second for the Twins. He had a good season. Angel Ventura for the Yankees had a pretty solid season, I'd say. Yeah, glad Bautista got some votes though. And Amari Ramirez, he was someone I looked at when I think we were trying to find good bats to trade for, and I knew that they weren't going to let him go. He ended up having a 5 WAR season. Like, yeah, that's going to do it. Octavio Gomez looks great, too. Wow. He's got great hitting ratings and great fielding ratings. He's a 23-year-old. Where did they get him from? Free agent from Cuba. Yeah, so he was a randomly generated player who came in at age 23, 22 actually, and just was major league ready immediately. Okay. What did he end up signing for? Just 3 years, 17 and $18 million. So it'd be interesting to see if they re-sign him in a few years. Mariners won Manager of the Year. That's fair. They had the best record. Brian Blasek for the Dodgers won. They had the best record. I think it most of the time just gives it to the best record. I'd like to see maybe some improvements in that in the future, just like looking at potential storylines. Like, I'm not saying we should have won this year, but last year when we went from being the second worst team in the league to a playoff team, like, I think that wins you the Manager of the Year every time in real life. But anyway, yeah, unsurprisingly, Minho An, unanimous Cy Young winner. Gavin Jones actually finishing second in voting, which is nice. He had a great year. He just was outshined by Minho An, who had an amazing season. Was their closer the year before, converted to a starter, and then just crushed everyone else in terms of most major categories. He led in innings, he led in ERA, he led in K per 9, he led in WAR. Like, that, there was no question he was winning MVP. Skubal finishes third. Yamamoto, who's now on the Angels, finishes fourth. Batista actually gets votes too. Wow, and Snelling got some distant votes as well. So Batista finished fifth. That's mildly surprising. But yeah, I was very happy with this season. So yeah, sure, I'll take it. And Grayson Rodriguez, yeah, they claimed him off of waivers from Baltimore. I remember that. That's still shocking to me. Some of the CPU things. And Corbin Burns at age 36 gets second in MVP or Cy Young voting. Had a great season. Yeah, Xander Mueth, not Paul Skeens. Where is Paul Skeens? Oh, there he is. Hi, Paul Skeens. Yeah, he's still doing quite well at age 28. Still whew, getting major money through age 34. But yeah, they won't have to worry about that for a few more years as he's been pretty dominant. Like, this is probably, through age 28, if he keeps up this pace, probably a Hall of Fame worthy career, I would say. Um, we'll see. Yeah, as he won the Cy Young in 2027 and 2028. So, yeah, we'll see. And then Julio Rodriguez wins MVP. Not unanimous as Minho An gets one MVP vote. You can make an argument, I think, with that crazy amount of WAR and leading in all major categories. Sorry for the odd cut there. Yeah, you can make an argument for him. Did we get any MVP votes? Drake Baldwin got some down ballot votes, which is understandable. No one else really did. Riley Green finishing second. He's been consistently good. Jackson Holiday has been consistently great and is a free agent this year unless they re-sign him, which they still haven't as of right now. And then Michael Harris the second, maybe to make up, yeah, in a much worse season than the one he was robbed of MVP in 2028, he wins MVP in 2030. It's like the Oscars when they give the kind of makeup awards to people that have been around for a while and maybe weren't the best acting performance that year, but yeah, this is the baseball equivalent of that, especially when going head to head against Jackson Merrill. Like, they both played center field. Like, he had 11.3 ZR and Jackson Merrill had 12.1, so pretty comparable. And I guess he had slightly worse OPS, but he also played games played. Yeah, he played less games than Jackson Merrill did. So yeah, I mean, he was out for 6 weeks, so maybe some voters giving him a break, saying like, oh, if he wasn't out for 6 weeks, he would have put up numbers that were better. So, I mean, he's been consistently great throughout this entire save. Yeah, except for 2026 when he weirdly only had 2.5 WAR, but every other season has been great for him. So, Jackson Merrill, Eduardo Tate, the catcher for the Phillies, who I really wanted to trade for, but yeah, they weren't letting him go, and for good reason. He put up 6.6 catcher WAR. Like, that's, yeah, his hitting numbers are good. His defensive numbers aren't bad. Like, you hit 29 home runs. That's pretty good. Ohtani finishing fourth in MVP voting still at age 36. Yeah, they still are not having him pitch, even though I think his pitching ratings last time I looked, yeah, I mean, he's decent enough to pitch, I think. Weird that they're just using him as a pure DH when his last pitching season, he put up 1.2 pitching WAR and a sub 4 ERA. Like, I don't know. The Dodgers have him under contract for another 4 years. Which is funny considering how long that contract was. Like, we're starting to approach the end of it here. But, I mean, definitely been worth it for them. Even as a pure DH, he's still a great player. Yeah. He's Ohtani. James Wood, he's good. Cam Smith, we mentioned before, got MVP votes. Okay, so yeah, those are all the awards. And then one other quick note: we did officially sign both Fernandez and Landon Robb, so they're back on the team next year. Um, yeah, not much else to talk about. I think arbitration, these guys, all three of these guys will not be on the team. I need to decide if I want to bring any of these guys back. Like Cairo had a good year at AAA and can play multiple positions again, but in limited time in the majors wasn't super impressive. Montero might be an option. Quintero might be an option since, he put up negative WAR in the majors, didn't do much in the minors either, but I'm still really intrigued by the very, very good fielding ratings here. The numbers don't necessarily reflect that as much, but yeah, we'll see. Might look to bring those two back, but anyway, yeah, I think simming to free agency is gonna be what's up next. So we'll do that, and I will see you soon. So we are now at the start of free agency, and I've looked around a bit, just trying to figure out what I want to do. Um, and I think right now the answer is not too much. You can see the top free agents that we were interested in, Holiday, Carter, and Carroll, did all enter free agency, but they all kind of have their own like hang-ups to them. Holiday is obviously the big get here, but just look at his demand here: an 11-year contract of over $50 million. Like, I just can't afford that, plain and simple. Yeah, you could bring the years down, you could bring the money down a little bit, but I still think that's out of my price range, which sucks because I'm sure he's going to remain a good player well into his 30s most likely, but I can't pull the trigger on that. And then Evan Carter with the wrecked injury proneness, and he wants a 9-year deal, I believe. Yeah, a 9-year deal. Like, I can't do that either. Just little cheaper, but still really expensive. And yeah, I'm not doing that with the wrecked injury proneness. Corbin Carroll is a bit more interesting, but he is 30 already. He's got fragile injury proneness. He does come with giving up a compensation pick, and he also wants an 8-year deal. So where does that leave us in terms of who's an interesting free agent to sign? Well, I kind of have to go, I guess, bargain bin hunting. Not quite at that level, but Michael Massey was a name that looked interesting. He's had OPS plus over 100 the last 3 seasons now. His WAR the last 3 seasons has not been good. Were they playing him? Yeah, they were playing him at second base in 2029. That would probably be part of the reason why. Like, that negative ZR, yeah, and then, yeah. But, again, his contract, he wants a 5-year deal, $14 million. That's still, like, expensive for a 32-year-old player. So, like, if I can get him to bring the years down and the price down, maybe. But I don't know. This is kind of the profile of the player that we would want. A guy who hits for a decent amount of power, has a positive OPS plus, has been consistently a good hitter, but yeah, his WAR this season does seem to be a little bit of an outlier compared to his last two. So Michael Garcia is a little bit more interesting, but this is one where this kind of looks more like an outlier season. Yeah, and then Kirk is a good hitter, but I think a lot of his WAR comes from playing a pretty good defensive catcher. And we already have Baldwin starting at catcher, so And then Jared Kelenic just looks like a solid outfielder. He only wants 2 years, $9 million. So maybe we look to bring him on for cheap, just as like a backup slash rotational kind of guy. I don't know. None of these guys are super wowing me. I did offer minor league contracts to Yanquiel Fernandez and Eleuris Montero. Like, both these guys are like solid DH type of hitters, but kind of on the cusp of being quad A players as well. So I might look to make trades. Pitcher wise, like, I don't think there were any big name pitchers that jumped out at me. Obviously I don't want to spend for a top end starter. I don't think Quinn Priester, right? Like, he comes with a compensation pick. He was good, but we were pretty set on starting pitching. I looked at some names like Logan Gilbert, maybe, but again, he comes with a compensation pick. Give up. I'll probably look to add maybe a reliever or a back end starter later in free agency. Trevor McDonald, someone like that might maybe make sense. Kenley Jansen is out there again in free agency, which is interesting. Like, he's 43 years old and we have a closer already, but $10 million is not like awful. Tried offering him 5 and obviously he didn't want that. So, if you could get him for cheap, I don't think you'd be sad about that. So I'll probably look to just do some bargain bin pitcher shopping. And then, just shop around to see if there are trades maybe that make sense. If there's a DH type out there that makes sense to trade for, makes sense, like, price-wise. I don't even know who I would look to trade in a situation like that. Because, like, I don't have any guys where I'm like, oh, yeah, these guys are expendable. I've seen a few teams be interested in Gamble and Cutter Coffee, but those are both guys that I think I'd rather keep around just because Coffee was good in limited time. He was kind of up and down in the playoffs, but yeah. And then, Gamble can play so many positions that I'd like to keep him as like a utility type of guy, and he is only 24 too, so there's still the slight chance that he continues to improve. So let me look around some more, still figuring out what I want to do. Player development as well. I'll show the dev lab. We've got 2 guys on programs that will finish fairly soon. DeJesus on track, and his almost to excelling, like right on the borderline. I think it was excelling and dropped down. And then Santana was at excelling, I think, at one point, and has dropped all the way down to frustrated. So hopefully he can get that back up above the green line there before the program ends in a few weeks. So we'll see. We'll see. Not much else to note here. This might be a pretty uninteresting free agency period, but I mean, that's kind of the case when you have a good team. I don't feel the need to go out and make a lot of big name signings at the moment, especially since we've got, some interesting starting pitching prospects coming up, and the offensive talent just wants so much money. Like, I don't think it makes sense to sign those guys necessarily when, we technically have the budget for somebody in maybe like the $20 million range, if it made sense. Like, if there was another Perdomo type out there, I'd consider it. But we made our big signings last year. We brought in PCA, who has a $22 million salary, so I need to be careful not to like overcommit in salary here. We brought in Zapata, who's still young, still has not even reached arbitration yet. Like, he could be that guy too if he continues to hit well. So we'll have to see. I'll let you know if I make any interesting signings, make any trades. I will keep you posted. All right, so I think this is a trade that makes sense for both sides here. Doing some poking around. The Guardians were pretty awful last year, but they do have Nick Kurtz, who was an All Star at DH and also won the Platinum Stake Award at DH and put up 2.7 WAR last season. That's pretty solid, I think, for just a pure DH. His ratings look pretty good. He's only 27. The contract's a little high, but I think we're at a position where we could afford that without too many issues. And yeah, I threw in some guys to basically allow them to eat some salary here so that it's a little bit cheaper for us here. We're giving up Wyatt Sanford for him. I mean, Sanford's a guy that looks good and put up solid numbers at AAA, but I think he's also a guy that's just blocked at the big league level by Santana and Volpe. Like, we don't have a super great spot for him at the moment. So I think flipping him for a DH type makes a lot of sense. Yasser Mercedes is, he looks like a quad A player basically. He did well at Double A. He's put up okay numbers. Well, not really even okay numbers at AAA. He's 26. Like, I don't mind getting rid of him. And then these three guys are all basically throw in types. They're all 24, 25, 26. Like, minor league players, and they're pretty much solely there so that I can get them to eat a little bit of salary, make this a little bit cheaper for us. But yeah, I think we're gonna make this trade. I think it makes sense in terms of adding a DH type, not committing major money to any of the guys available in free agency. It's a trade that I think the Guardians would make because they, get a decent looking player back in Sanford, who is potentially more on their timeline, as well as some flyers on some minor league guys that, who knows, maybe they'll have some TCR and have some crazy turnaround here. But yeah, I am going to do this trade, and our fans seem to be pleased. So yeah, that's good. We're making the fans happy. But yeah, I think probably there's not going to be too many crazy free agency moves or even any more trades necessarily. Like, I'll keep thinking about it and poking around and seeing if there's some that make sense. But the next interesting thing might be the Rule 5 draft. And do we have a lot of guys that I need to worry about protecting this year? Not really. I mean, Vera maybe. Rose we just got on waivers. Quintero we are currently waiving. Yeah, there's not anyone here that I would be super sad to see go. Yeah, so I think it'll be another Rule 5 draft where we're basically just taking some shots on players, adding talent, which has been pretty good for us in the past. I mean, I think there's a few guys that we've gotten through the Rule 5 draft that, like Alex Mooney, had a solid few seasons for us, and then we flipped him for Ryan Fernandez at the trade deadline, who's been a really solid reliever for us so far. Yeah, I think there's been a few other guys that we got in Rule 5. Bautista wasn't one. I think actually the guy that we just traded, no, Sanford we got off of waivers, never mind. But yeah, the waivers and Rule 5 picks are occasionally useful for trade bait, if nothing else. And, we could use some more depth at the very least. I know Shelley was a Rule 5 pick, yeah. And was Connor Griffin a Rule 5 pick? He was also a Rule 5 pick. So these guys that, still have some good potential, and I don't know if they're gonna be starters for us necessarily, but they're kind of on that cusp, right, where they could be. And again, Cooper Kinney, I still don't know what to do with him. I guess it'll depend on how he does in spring training. There was interest in flipping him Like, I could have included him in the trade I did just now, and probably not had to give up Wyatt Sanford, but I just I can't I can't get over Cooper Kinney. Can't let you go. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going here. The next interesting thing might be the Rule 5 draft. I'll kind of keep an eye on free agency too, just in case like some of those guys want way less money. Maybe we'll get in on one of them, but I'll let you know if any interesting happenings happen before the Rule 5. Yeah, and I guess we'll have another round of international free agency coming up in December as well, like scouting that is, but not too much interesting to report there yet, I think. So I'll keep you updated. It's December 1st, and here's the next round of scouting for international free agency. I never updated this, but yeah, the not much to report except for William Hurtado just got even more interesting in my eyes. I mean, the personality, they said coaches love Hurtado and his makeup is off the charts, which I hadn't seen before, but I can see why they love him. Like, high leader, work ethic, and baseball IQ. Like, those are the three big personality traits that I would look for. So that's very intriguing. His power also went up, both his current and potential. In the last scouting update, very slightly, but he does go up to now an 80 overall potential power, playing, probably realistically third base, and would be a decent defensive third baseman. So, yeah, I mean, right now the interest from other teams is only average. I would expect that to go up by the time we actually can sign people. But if it doesn't, and we can nab him for, I don't know. I don't know if I'd go for the max on him, or if it would make more sense to try and spread stuff around for guys like Herrera, guys like Andrade, maybe, who is, has a strong relationship with us. Get some of these cheap guys like Rodriguez and San Miguel. I don't know how I want to approach this yet. Hurtado's very, very interesting, though. Yeah, very interesting. Also of note, Hall of Fame voting began today, and notable names. Well, Verlander and Scherzer are both in their first year of eligibility. I have to imagine both those guys, even in OOTP, would be first ballot Hall of Famers, even being on the same ballot together. And then, Justin Turner, Rizzo, McCutchen, JD Martinez, Hendricks, Carlos Carrasco. Like, those are all names that I think will get votes. I don't know how many votes they'll get. If we sort by Jaws, yeah, Joey Votto still hanging out on there with 40% of the vote. Felix Hernandez, criminally low, in my opinion, 7% of the vote. McCutchen will get votes. Yeah, I'll show you the results of that once we get to, I think January is when, yeah, January 15th we'll get the results. So no other big, updates for free agency or any other trades, signings, whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going through the off season here. Quick DevLab update here. Both of our short programs concluded successfully, which is nice. DeJesus now projects to be like a passable major league outfielder, which I'm pretty happy with considering where he started defensively. I think that he's just on a roll in terms of 4 consecutive dev lab updates finished successfully. And 2 of those outfield defense and then plate discipline. And Santana Still not quite to an 80 for stealing ability, but did get better. Stealing improves by 5. Stealing aggressiveness improves by less than 5. Might still need to, scout him to see the updated ratings. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll do the same for DeJesus too, although I think his did update here. Yeah, last updated in December 2030. His potential's up to 4 stars now, I think, with those improved defensive updates. Yeah, he's looking to be a very, very solid 5th-round pick if he continues to develop. In terms of our other dev lab picks, we had 2 more long programs that we could start, so we went ahead and started DeJesus, trying to improve his power. It's dipping behind the rest of his batting ratings a little bit and has pretty high potential still, so hopefully he will fulfill that potential. And then Sharpton, who I didn't get in before, I will get in now. Also trying to improve the quality of contact. Again, that's his lowest. BABIP is his lowest one, and I think quality of contact could also improve his avoid Ks potentially. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but either way, he's got a little bit of hitting potential left to fulfill. He's 23, almost 24, but knocking on the door of the big leagues. So we want to see if we can get his ratings up so he can be a major league contributor, hopefully this year. And not a lot of positives in the rest of our dev lab. Karsten Swem is excelling. Hopefully that continues. Strapadopoulos is on track. Clevenger was struggling at one point, now up to frustrated. So hopefully that continues to go up. Hopefully all of these continue to go up. But at least we got 2 successes right off the bat. And if we get a 50% success rate with a lot of hard programs, I'll be pretty happy with that too. So gonna keep going. I know there were some trade offers in here. A lot of teams interested in Dasan Hill, who came on and played well for us down the stretch last year. Like, he could be a back end starter or a bullpen guy for us. I did shop him around. I didn't see anything like super interesting. I'm getting like decent offers for him. Like, Herrera looks decent, but he is a reliever. Same with Carrillo. I tried shopping him for big league players too. I don't think there was anyone that really jumped out at me, but that's a name to watch as we approach the winter meetings. Like, if I get the right offer for him, I wouldn't necessarily mind trading him, but he is young and has done well for us so far in limited time. Like, started several games, was pretty clutch for us in the playoffs. Like, didn't allow any earned runs, I think, in the entire playoffs, despite making multiple appearances in that Seattle series. I think he played for us in Detroit as well. Technically got a blown save in one, but I was very happy with his performance in the playoffs and in the regular season. So he's got to watch, and he's a lefty too. So I'd like to keep him around either as part of a left-handed set in our bullpen with Chris Bourgeois still developing, or maybe even as a back-end starter. Right now, like, I just did auto sort in the off season just to kind of see how the CPU evaluates everybody. They still evaluate Bello pretty highly. I don't know if he would be in the rotation next year. He did finish with pretty solid numbers overall. I think his FIP was not good. I think I've mentioned that before. His FIP was 4.55, which is not great, but he did finish with a good ERA. He's kind of in the same boat as Jackson Ferris, where both of those guys like had decent like numbers, but then the FIP didn't really correlate. So I don't know if that will continue into next year or not. So we'll see. I'm gonna keep going through the off season. Let you know if there's any big updates. No major updates here, but just I know I brought up Orion Kirkering before, like, as I think he got put on waivers at some point, and then I was just not comfortable with grabbing him off of waivers because it didn't seem realistic. I mean, the saga that happened with him after that is pretty crazy, even for the CPU too. Like he got traded at the trade deadline by the Phillies to the Orioles in exchange for a haul of prospects, headlined by Bobby Cruz, who looks like a decent starting pitching prospect, right? Like, so they gave up a decent amount for him. Um, that was in 2029. I think he was still, on the Orioles at the point last year when I saw him on waivers. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before. I think it was last year, but putting up good numbers for them, right? Like he put up a sub 3 ERA, had 1.9 WAR, and then they just straight up released him in August of last year. And he signed a 2-year contract for about $5 million a year with the Reds. Like, I don't get that. I mean, he was worse with the Reds, but over a very low sample size, and like I don't get it. Like you can maybe say like he was getting paid too much, maybe, but then they just straight up released him, and I don't know. I don't get that at all. Some weird logic from the CPU there. Yeah, I mean, I guess the trade makes sense. It's just everything the Orioles did not make any sense at all, especially since the Orioles were, in the middle of a playoff push at the time, like, and they have a good team. They ended up missing the playoffs by one game. So, maybe that closer would have helped you win more games, right? And like their bullpen ERA was sixth, and I don't know, why would you rather keep like Dylan Simmons in your bullpen over Kerkering, or like even Jorge Navarro, who is your current closer? Like he's worse than Kerkering. What are you guys doing? I don't get it. Just CPU things. Anyway, yeah, just wanted to share that as I noticed it in the off season. Another random cut in here as the draft lottery results were announced today, and the Nashville Stars, who finished with the second worst record in the league, will get the first overall pick. They are our expansion team counterparts, so I decided to check in and see how they were doing. Obviously not great. They were last in their division. They lost 95 games last year. Yeah, some interesting names on their team, including Jordan Alvarez, signed in free agency. He's wrecked and now playing for Nashville. Adiel Amador, who was actually waived by Philly, put up 2 WAR for them. Waived by Philly after a 3.1 WAR season. Again, I don't get it, but sure. And yeah, the rotation headlined by Christian Zazueta, who, if you remember, in the expansion draft was the first overall pick, was going to be my first pick if they didn't take him. And, he's proven to be a worthwhile first overall pick, as he, put up a great ERA and WAR his first season. Struggled a little bit in his second season, but still solid numbers overall, and then really came into his own this season with 4.4 WAR, sub 4 ERA on a really bad team. Pitched almost 200 innings, led the league in walks per nine. Still only 26 years old. Just getting to 26 years old. And I have to wonder, although I didn't. Yeah, I think trading for him would be too expensive. Like, yeah, I mean, not like awfully expensive, but I think I'm still gonna hold off for now. It's tempting though. He is in his first year of arbitration, um, and he looks quite good. Yeah, let me chew on that as the winter meetings have started. see if I can find maybe a trade offer that makes sense. I doubt they'd want to give him up, but we'll see. We are December 21st, and it is the Rule 5 draft today. Again, not a whole lot of players potentially worth protecting. Zion Rose is one who I got off of waivers, might be worth throwing on there potentially. I did go ahead and throw on JoJo Parker as well. I mean, he looks okay, put up decent numbers in AA. Yeah, I'll throw Zion Rose on there too. Why not? Because I think I only plan on taking 5 guys in the Rule 5 draft. That's kind of another house rule, I guess, of mine. Just, you could get like 10 if you wanted to, but I don't think that's realistic. So, here's all the guys I've shortlisted that are Rule 5 eligible this year. I'll just run through them real quick. Spencer Browning, just looks like a solid all-around hitter. He's only 23. Still has room for development. Sure, I don't think he would be bad. Jaden Stroman, which I looked it up, he is Marcus Stroman's brother in real life, who was drafted in 2025 by the Rangers. Yeah, although that may not happen in real life. I don't think the 2025 draft has happened yet in real life, so who knows where he'll go. But he's a two-way player that looks kind of interesting. Decent ratings all around, both pitcher and hitter, so it might be worth taking a chance on there. Zahir Hope has great stealing ratings, really good, pretty good defensive ratings, and then okay batting ratings, and has been in AAA 3 consecutive years and put up good numbers all 3 years, so sure. I threw 2 catchers on here too. Gabriel Davalillo, probably. He hasn't played above AA, but he has good ratings. He's got good power potential, good defensive ratings, that is. I might be willing to just take a chance on him and see if he develops a little bit, and we could maybe use him as our backup catcher. Kind of the same thing with Dylan Moss, although he looks better defensively, not quite as good offensively. And he has at least played 5 whole games at AA as well, so, and he's durable. And Elian de la Cruz is a really intriguing name. He's kind of the power bat archetype here too, where he's had a handful of games at higher levels, but also hasn't played above A+, but he could be a solid big league backup player, DH backup outfield type, which we wouldn't mind necessarily right now. And then pitchers, I don't know if there's a lot to say about the pitchers. I mean, they're all pretty much, guys that are 23, 24, 25. Ryan Sloan is I think big league ready now, but also out for 7 months with a torn elbow ligament. The nice thing, I guess, about that is if we Rule 5 drafted him, then we could stash him on the IL for a good chunk of the year. Brian Rivera, he projects as maybe a good bullpen arm, which is where we'd likely want to use anyone that we got in the Rule 5 draft, since our starting rotation seems pretty well set, I think, for the year. So he's an interesting name. Sawyer Deering, kind of same thing. He could play a decent bullpen arm right now, I think. And then Ricky Quiroz, he just looks solid all around. I mean, he's 25, so I don't know how much more development he's going to get, but even if he got a little bit more development, he would potentially jump up to a big league caliber player. So, so let's get into Rule 5. I don't really know if I have a priority order for most of those guys. Just mainly drafting because I have open slots and not a lot of guys where I'm like or a lot of positions of need where I need to fill gaps in here. So let's see. And let's see if anyone of our team gets taken. They do not. So okay, Jaden Stroman does get taken. Ryan Sloan does get taken. Jesus Gonzalez, I missed him entirely, but he was taken, and he looks quite good. Christian Cairo, yeah, that's a familiar name. The Brewers signed him as a minor league free agent, and then he got Rule 5 drafted. So hopefully he goes on to success with the Nationals. Tyler Black, Blade Tidwell. Okay, so yeah, so these are our shortlisted players. All pitchers, all batters, all players, and this includes some of our guys that are Rule 5 eligible too. I like Elian De La Cruz, I think, in terms of like potential. Probably take 2 pitchers, 2 batters, and then a 5th from whoever's left. So we'll do De La Cruz first. Yeah, that 65 power is intriguing. And he is also only 23 years old, so he's got room to develop and has high work ethic. So I'd like to see what he can do. De La Cruz, as we still have no other ones taken. I don't see any names on there that we were looking at. So let's go back here and see. Let's take a picture in this round. I think Sawyer Deering or Morera. It's a little frustrating that my shortlisted guys who were like prospects are listed on there. And in fact, let's do this. As yeah, I know several of these guys are over 25, potentially not on the team anymore. In the case of Byron Churio, all of these guys who I traded, Cleveland, Houston. Okay. All right. So, well, that's a little clearer to sort through at least. All right. Sawyer Deering and then Herrera looked interesting. And we've got Quiraz. I think I'll take Deering just because, again, he's 23, has more room to develop. Herrera looked interesting. Rivera also looks interesting, though, with his 70 overall changeup, solid curveball, mediocre fastball. Okay, let's go with Deering, and then I'll take Rivera if he's still available in the next round. Oh, as Quintero does get taken in the Rule 5 draft. Okay. That I don't necessarily mind. He was a guy that was kind of borderline player for us. So, again, hopefully he goes on to success for us, for not us. Success for someone else. Brian Holiday, Quintero, Kranzler. Alex Kranzler. That's a good name. Yeah, so we'll take Brian Rivera. And auto draft. And let's look at batters now. Kind of tempted to take one of these catchers, I think, just because backup catcher is not a position that's for sure set in stone. I mean, we did take Bodine last year in the Rule 5 draft. I actually forgot. And he did fairly decently as a backup catcher, I'd say. Um, not amazing, but not bad either. Although Spencer Browning is another, like, he's 23 years old. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, yeah. Let's take one of these catchers and then Spencer Browning. Maybe in the opposite order. So we'll do Spencer Browning first, and then maybe one of these catchers will get taken and make my pick easier. No. Okay, Yorman Gomez. So Davalio has intriguing power. His contact is not good, but I think Dylan Moss is closer to being a big league caliber player, especially as a backup catcher. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a pretty good chance he doesn't make the team, but we'll see. He's got the offseason to develop here. So um, I've got my five guys. Um, Now I want five guys. Yeah, that'll be the Rule 5 draft. I think that's pretty, again, a pretty, like, kind of underwhelming Rule 5 draft, I think. But, we lost one player. We gained some interesting names. Now I can kind of go through and I don't have to worry about, guys that I sign potentially getting Rule 5 drafted. Not that a lot of them would be anyway. I did put in an offer, by the way, for Brock Burke, I believe. Yeah, Brock Burke. Again, it's a kind of a weird situation where he was an all-star and reliever of the year with Seattle, and then they let him go in free agency. And despite putting up, like, really solid numbers, he's only asking for $2.2 million. So, sure, I will gladly pay that for a very solid reliever. And then I threw in some team option years on the end too, in case I want to, bring him back. So likely he will sign with us. Likely I'll have to do some roster shenanigans if he does sign with us with some of the Rule 5 guys we just drafted, but that's okay. None of those guys I'm super attached to. Yeah, we'll see kind of if and how they develop. Speaking of develop, yeah, haven't gotten to the point yet where we can see the progress report on the development lab, but I think that'll be coming up fairly shortly. So stay tuned for that. January 2nd here. Just a quick update on IFA and the player development lab, I think. Hurtado still remains very, very intriguing player. He is up to very high league interest, so it is a situation where I might consider offering him the max that I can. It is also a year where I can't offer as much as other teams. The highest I have available is 5.2 million. Other teams can offer 5.7. So, I might try to sneak in there with a bid over his demand if I can get his relationship up some more. We are very strong with two players already, Juan Rodriguez and David Andrade, both of which look solid. Edgar Herrera also looks very intriguing, and we are strong with him. Yeah, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Player development lab. This is the last day too where I can pull some guys out of the lab, and for the most part, everyone looks to be pretty solid. They're either on track, excelling in the case of Carson Svem. Hopefully, he keeps that up. That would be amazing. The only one I'm slightly worried about is John Clevenger, who's right on that borderline where, if he gets under this line, he could lose potential. Um, so I'm kind of torn whether to try and let him stick it out or not. Um, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is pull him out just to be on the safe side. These other two, like, even though they're frustrated, they're at least, Wade Shelley's almost to this line. Zimmerman's at about halfway. Um, yeah. So I think I'm going to pull Clevenger out and just throw someone in on a short program here just to be on the safe side. Um, let's see. So we could throw in one of our Rule 5 guys if there's an interesting short program. Well, first of all, I guess, can I do a long program? I'm thinking no. Yeah, so that is not an option. Sawyer Deering, yeah, so there's no good pitching options for a short program, pretty much. I could do De La Cruz defense. I could throw someone in for steals again, Wade Shelley, maybe. Or try to get Wade Shelley's defense up even higher, which is kind of an interesting proposition, I guess, as he's already, got really good defensive ratings. What are PCA's center field ratings, by the way? He's not too far off from being a PCA level defender, which is kind of crazy. I mean, we could even throw someone like Volpe in potentially for defense or stealing, or like Baldwin base running. I don't know. Actually, this is something I've done in the past, and I kind of want to see again. We go to batting stats 2. No. There is somewhere where you can see. Maybe I just added this manually into batting stats 2. Because it's not under fielding. No. So, like, you can add base running stats in here, which I occasionally like to look at. So let's look at here. Where are they? Yeah, here we go. Runs value, base running value, total base running value. So this is stolen bases run value, base running value, total base run value. Yes, this is what I want. Okay. So if we sort by that, you can see PCA had great base running value, which makes sense. Santana, Keyshaw, Volpe. Who's near the bottom here? Yeah, lots of DH type guys. Cutter Coffee is one that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense, especially since he missed a decent. Well, he's at 0.3. And Sean Gamble, too, you would expect to be higher with his base running skills. Maybe his strategy was just off. Yeah, I mean, I guess I never manually adjusted his strategy, so he probably was doing weird things on the base paths. Yeah, he tried 12 steals and was caught half the time. That would do it, I guess. Okay, yeah, let's look and see. Speed wise, well, speed and base running are not the same. Run. Okay, so who's fast but not good at base running, or I guess in general, who's just not good at base running? Zapata might be an option. How did he do in runs? Not great. He also finished with negative steals. Yeah, why did he? I guess he does have 70 stealing ability, so he attempted 7 steals and was caught 3 of the 7. So yeah, kind of low sample size, I think there. Perdomo. Yeah. Okay. Let's do someone young. I kind of like Gamble. Maybe just doing Gamble steals. Um, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Gamble steals. There's Gamble. Okay, so that's the dev lab for now. I don't know. Oh, yeah, these are all the dev lab updates. In terms of free agent signings, still pending on Brock Burke. I will still have a bunch of minor league contracts out there. Most of these are minor league with a big league option, just kind of for minors depth and like backups potentially. Yeah, nothing too exciting. Still kind of keeping my eye on to Alec Burleson. I don't want to give him a big league contract, but he's not demanding much. He's kind of a guy that's on the borderline of like maybe he'll take a minor league deal once spring training starts. So I want to keep an eye on that there. Kalanick did sign with St. Louis for $6 million a year. That's not awful. I maybe would have paid that, but I'm not gonna cry about losing him either. Massey also still not getting much action. I offered him a 3-year deal, 5, 6, 7 million. I think that's fair. He wants too much money still. If he's willing to listen to my demands, I'd sign him for that much money. But I don't know. Again, I'm not gonna go too crazy here in free agency. We made I guess our big splash trade was Nick Kurtz, which I mean he was an all-star last year and had 2.7 WAR, so theoretically that should be an improvement over Brent Rooker, who I don't know if he's still a free agent even. If we sort by OPS, he had a pretty decent OPS on the season. He is, and he also wanted too much money. Like yeah, and he still wants too much money. Like I would bring him back for. Okay, so if you'd be willing to take a 1-year deal for like $5 million, yeah, and that's like not even close to what he has in mind. So he likely won't be coming back. Yeah, Duran had a good-ish season, but yeah. I'm just gonna keep going here. Nothing too crazy. We'll sim to the Hall of Fame voting results, and I'll keep you posted on any interesting developments. January 15th, here's the Hall of Fame voting results. Unsurprisingly, both Scherzer and Verlander inducted first ballot Hall of Fame. Close to unanimous inductions, too. Both of them just missing out on a few votes, but both well deserved. Ryan Braun getting close in his 6th year. As a Cubs fan, I personally hope he doesn't make it, but let's see how that goes. McCutcheon also gets 17% of the vote in his first year. And Martinez gets a handful of votes. The rest of the first year guys, not too much support, less than 5, and they get dropped from the ballot. Buster Posey still hanging in there at 6.6% of the vote. He's one that I think is a bit underrated in OOTP. Yeah, and Ryan Braun, because of the steroid suspension, probably will not be a Hall of Famer in real life, I imagine. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, not much else to report here. Still simming through, signing some minor league type guys. I poked around on the trading block a little bit earlier in the off season. I don't think many of these guys make too much sense. Jace Young kind of is intriguing, but he's still owed a decent amount of money this year and next year, and I think they still want a lot for him as well. Like, yeah, and all of these guys are guys I would not really want to give up. Teams value Wade Shelley pretty highly, by the way. And thinking about it, he'll probably be our starting right fielder this year, just because of his defense. But yeah, and probably still splitting time with Armstrong, maybe starting against lefties in center field. So, excuse me. Yeah, we're gonna keep going, and yeah, preseason starts February 1st, which is probably also when international free agency will actually start, given how it's worked in past seasons. So I might sim to that, and for sure I'll let you know what I decide to do there. So see you then. All right, quick Dev Lab update. Sean Gamble currently excelling at his base stealing technique, which I love to see that. Sharpton frustrated. Still various levels of good, I'd say. Strapadopolis is down to frustrated, but right on the borderline. Let's see if he can get that back up. But yeah, overall, a lot of good here. More good than bad, I'd say. Although Strapadopolis, I really want to succeed more than not. So we did sign Brock Burke as well. Managed to put him on the 40-man without losing anybody. I waived Danny Lopez, and he passed through without anyone claiming him. So that's great. We're still at the full 40-man roster, still going through. I don't think there's any interesting names like left to sign. I'll kind of still keep an eye on some of those guys I mentioned earlier, Massey, etc. Yeah, and like Kenley Jansen. Still no offers for Kenley Jansen, which is interesting. See if maybe we can get him in for cheap. Same with Keegan Aiken. Keegan Aiken has an offer. Okay. But Kenley Jansen wants to be the closer. We might have already promised that to Griffin Jacks. Yes. So it's a vesting option requiring 35 games finished. So, I mean, we could just deal with Griffin Jacks being mad at us and try to sign Kenley Jansen. But I don't know. I feel like our bullpen was good last year overall, and we added Brock Burke. Yeah, I don't feel the need to go out and spend a ton of money, but shorter term deals probably make sense. So, yeah, we're going to keep going through to the preseason / international free agency. All right, it is now February 5th, and a few interesting developments here. First is that Michael Massey, who I'd kind of been keeping an eye on, did end up signing with Vegas for 4 years, $5.7 million per year. It's not an awful contract. I still think, just based on what he's done, I wasn't willing to give him, a longer term deal. Yeah, and now we're forced to root against him as he is playing for our rivals. So, bad luck to you, Michael Massey. Sorry, not sorry. We have DeJesus excelling in his development lab program. Sharpton is frustrated, but I think doing okay. And Sean Gamble completed successfully, so his stealing ability is up to a 70. That's good to see. I did go ahead and throw in Gian Zapata to improve his outfield defense. In terms of, a lot of my players have pretty good defensive stats already, at least guys that are regular starters for me, and Zapata is one that, he can play the outfield, and so I'm gonna try to, boost his ratings a little bit so I have a bit more flexibility since we traded for Kurtz, who will likely slot in as more of an everyday DH type of player. I will maybe put him at first base a little bit. Cleveland played him in the outfield last year. I will not be doing that. I mean, you can see his outfield numbers were pretty horrendous. Yeah, or at the very least, not good. And then international free agency. I did miss the first day of international free agency, so ultimately still not the worst thing. I would have liked to get an offer right away on Hurtado because he already had an offer out there, but I did put in an offer for 4.1 million, which is I think 500K more than his asking price. That's fine, and still gives us a little bit of money to try to grab some of those other guys that are kind of maybe good bargain picks like Juan Rodriguez and San Miguel. I think I threw a few more names onto our scouting list. If they're already very strong, I will usually take them off and throw someone else on there. Oh, Vasilini was one, and his ratings actually went down to a 2-star potential, but okay. And then Jose Reyes looks just solid all around. Um, for a 2.5-star player, that's pretty good. Pretty good potential. I mean, he's really far away from reaching a lot of that potential, but yeah. And then Herrera's still an option, I think. So I'll probably look to do um, one of the bigger names out here, like Herrera, maybe um, Ortiz is an option. Kind of a similar profile to the player we drafted last year, but you know, it could be worse. Andrade is very strong. Yeah, if we miss out on Hurtado, we have options. I think I'll look to grab one of those guys, maybe two if I can swing it, and then fill out the rest with bargain guys. So kind of splitting the difference here between going all in for one really good player and grabbing a bunch of guys. So we also never addressed this, but all of the pitchers this year were just mediocre. I didn't, the only one who even caught my eye was Carlos Tomas as a starter, and even then his third pitch was not great. So he's probably more of a reliever, and the rest were just reliever prospects. I don't know. Maybe I'll need to tweak some of the settings because there's just always a lack of good international free agent pitchers versus batters. There's always a bunch of batters I'm interested in and basically zero pitchers. So let's go ahead and keep going here. I'm gonna just try to live sim through this to get Hurtado maybe, since the Rule 5 draft was kind of whatever. Yeah, and foolish to sign on with you guys when I already have a legitimate offer in hand from Chicago. Okay. Yeah, so someone did offer him the max. That was not unexpected. A few of these guys did sign for low amounts. Juan Maldonado was not a name I was super interested in. But yeah, the White Sox must have offered him the max here. So we are out on Hurtado. And next up, I guess, Herrera, we do have a very strong relationship with. I do like his profile overall. They're only offering 2.7 million, so if we jump that by a whole $1 million, and it's a very strong offer or very strong relationship, as we'll withdraw our offer from Hurtado. Oh, I am trying to bring Chorio back as a minor league free agent, by the way. Yeah, and our international complex was actually full at the start of this. I don't know how long it's been full for, as our scout consistently finds guys that are pretty, whatever. A bunch of them just got promoted. I'll probably have to go through and manually, get rid of some of these players at some point. But for now, they're gonna stay in the ACL. Sutsumi, I mean, he's close to being able to play this year, I think. I would just want to see a little bit more development. I think most of our other players are at least a year or two away. Yeah, as he has been finding some like decent, these are all scouting discovery guys. Celestino, Vargas was a guy we signed. Yeah, so let's keep going here. I want to see Herrera likes the contract offer. Gregory Santos is signing with Seattle after they lose Brock Burke to us. Aiken William Hurtado signs with Pittsburgh. Okay, so they offered him, yeah, the max. That's not surprising. I should have probably known that that would happen, but let's see if we can steal Herrera away from these other teams. No, and Churio's not happy either. I'll deal with you in a second, Churio. The D-backs are in on him and gonna offer him close to the max. Okay, so I think I'm gonna be out on him too. I just want to try to get a guy that is, yeah, gonna sign for us for not the full max, as yeah, Leo Gonzalez, I think was an interesting name. Yeah, he was someone who I wouldn't mind getting for 2.2 million. Ortiz signed for close to the max. He was another name I was interested in. Okay, so in terms of very strong players, I think I'm just going to start throwing out offers to guys that I have good relationships with, as no one's offered on Andrade yet. So I'm going to offer him like 3.5 million. So over his asking price. He has very strong relationship with us. These two guys, hopefully. Ooh, okay. So the Cubs are in on Juan Rodriguez. I don't necessarily want him for 2 million. What about Jorge San Miguel? Yeah, he wants 650. So we're gonna offer him 500. And he's happy with that. Okay, and we've got about, I think, 1 million left to play with if these guys all sign, which would potentially be enough to get like a Rodrigo Ramirez, maybe. If I offer him the exact amount that I have left. No, he's still not happy with that. Okay. As we have weak-ish relationships with a lot of people that are left. Strong for Navarez. Strong for Romero. Yeah. As Romero. I'd rather have Ramirez than Romero, honestly. If we get out on Andrade, I might shift to Ramirez instead. Who did I have on my board here that was somewhat interesting? Reyes. He's weak, but no one's offering him anything, so we'll offer him like, whoops, 300K. Yeah, I'd do that for 300K. Okay, so yeah, let's see how. Oh yeah, Churio wants a minor league deal worth 3.8 million. Yeah, you can sign that. That's fine. I'm not interested in that. Yeah, as he goes, Jose Reyes is happy. Andrade is happy. Jose Reyes wants more money. Well, let me see how the Andrade contract goes before I offer you more money, Jose Reyes. How much more money does he want? Not that much more. Okay, 520. That's fine. That's fine. That's still pretty cheap. Andrade. So we are down to a 3-star overall potential on Andrade. When did that happen? Was I on OSA instead of my scout rating? Whoops. Whoops. Okay. So Ramirez, what is he interested? Okay. So now I kind of want. I mean, Andrade's power is still really intriguing. I think a lot of his potential might have been due to, well, his eye went down. Yeah, it's all down, which is not great, but he's got high leader, high work ethic. His power still looks really good. I think his defensive ratings are maybe dragging him down a bit. Yeah. But if he wants more money, I might pivot to Ramirez instead. Let's see. I should send Miguel signs. I think he's the first one to sign. And Herrera signs with Los Angeles for, 5.2 million. Okay. And Andrade does sign. Okay. So what have we got left here? We've got $710,000. Juan Rodriguez. Oh yeah, he was one that wanted. Yeah, he I think had an offer over 2 million. Ramirez will not sign for that little, most likely. Who's another guy that's got decent potential and would maybe sign for like 700K? Cordero. Maybe? No. Okay. Aguirre. No, don't. I think Antonio Codornica. Jose Reyes I've offered on, yeah. Jose Sanchez. Okay, that's an interesting name. Let's see if he's willing to go down a little bit. 710? He would take 710. Okay, so let's try Jose Sanchez. Let's see how that goes. We'll see if Reyes is happy with his new contract. So we go day by day here. Jose Reyes is not happy with his new contract. Okay, so Cincinnati's in for 750. All right. Let's see what happens with Sanchez here. Zapata's frustrated with his program update. Let's see. As we cut into international or player development real quick. I mean, he's close to the border there. I'm going to leave him in and see how that goes. All right. Sanchez wants more money too. Okay. I kind of like Sanchez more than Reyes for that amount of money. Well, Reyes is pretty solid, though. Sanchez. I basically have to pick one of these guys. I do like Reyes, honestly. And Detroit. I might not be able to get Reyes, so that might make my decision easier here. As the Cubs offer 8.1K, or 810K, rather. 810K. 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 8 I'll offer 920. Yeah, so I think we're pretty much out on any other players. Yeah, Ramirez will want more money than I can offer, which is sad because I think for 1.7 billion, that's a really good deal. I just wish I had noticed the decline on Andrade sooner than I did. I would have rather had Ramirez, I think, but that's okay. The preseason is winding down. Yeah, all my budget stuff is good. I did review that already earlier. Jose Reyes signs with Detroit. What did he end up signing for? 1.2 million. Okay. And we got Francisco Huerta. Wow, he looks mediocre. Too bad. All right. As Sanchez does go in. Okay, so we signed Sanchez, and I think that's probably going to be it. Yeah, we have 310 left, but I don't think that's going to be enough to get anybody like. Would Aguirre even take 310? No, he's got an offer for the Mets. What about Torreda? That's less than half of what he wanted to start with. Yeah, he's not interested in that. Okay, so that's likely it for our international free agency. And if we go to team here, yeah, so we signed 3 players. We got San Miguel and Andrade, both 3-star players, and then Jose Sanchez. So not an amazing draft class. I don't know. I might have rather had like a one big name player over those guys, but it doesn't hurt to have more depth, I guess, in our organization. So we'll see how those guys develop. And yeah, we're only a few days away from spring training, so let's go ahead and sim to spring training. We are officially into spring training now. It's March 4th. Dev Lab results are in, and I'm pretty happy overall with these results. 4 successes, 1 outstanding, 2 no improvements. So I will take that for sure. Strapidopoulos was successful in his. I don't think it's showing yet in his scouting report. I issued new scouting reports on a lot of these. Engberg was successful, but also has gone down to just a 2.5-star potential. That happened in November. I didn't notice that till just now. But yeah, none of these ratings drops are that bad. A lot of just 5-star drops across multiple categories. So I don't know if he's necessarily, that much worse of a player. I think it's mainly the contact going from 70 to 65, if I had to guess. I don't know. Definitely it hurts having all those go down. But he was successful in improving his 2-strike approach, so his avoid Ks should go up. And I think it has gone up a little bit from what it was before, which means that he should hopefully be a solid hitter at rookie league ball in his first season. Karsten Swim, that is how you pronounce his last name, by the way. I figured I should actually learn the pronunciation since, yeah, now he looks like a big league caliber pitcher. 45, 50, 50, 25 years old, still room for improvement. Yeah, he's going to get some time at starting pitcher in spring training. His potential movement improved by less than 5, current movement improved by 10. I don't know if that's been fully updated here in his ratings, but again, I got another scouting report out on him, so yeah, that's a really great result. I love that. Zimmerman and Bourgeois, no improvement. And then Steven Martinez successfully increased his power by 5. That's great. He's up to a 55 power now. He could be our everyday left or right fielder, depending on how spring training goes. I think he's pretty much a lock to make the roster, barring an absolutely disastrous spring training. And then Wade Shelley, Avoid K's went up by 5 too. So he's getting his hitting ratings up. He's already a great defender. And then, yeah, the new Dev Lab programs is just a lot of defense mainly. Some of our top prospects, including Tsutsumi, I got in on defense. Elian De La Cruz is also our Rule 5 pick who, he's got intriguing power potential and decent defensive ratings. So I figured, why not try to bump that up a little bit? And then Wade Shelley, base stealing. Yeah, he's kind of on the cusp of being an elite base stealer, or at least a very good base stealer. So I'd like to get that up so I could steal with him more. Yeah, and then our other programs, DeJesus still doing well in his on track, Sharped and Frustrated, but more towards the green than the orange. So we'll see how that goes. Ditto for Zapata. He's frustrated, but hopefully his outfield defense will be successful. So yeah, spring training, I'm not going to go too deeply into this. I did fill out the full 60-man roster. I have, just to start with, Swim and Straps as our 5th and 6th starter. I like to rotate guys into those slots throughout spring training, kind of get a feel for who's going to be, more of the 4th and 5th starters. I think that the top 4 slots are locked in to start the season. Jones, Imanaga, Snelling, and Bautista, probably in that order. And then to start the season, Swim could start the season on the Major League roster, given that he's got a little bit of time, Major League service time already, and depending how spring training goes, I could see that. I might also start him in the minors, for service time reasons, although there is the prospect promotion incentive. Oh, but he's not eligible because he's not a top 100 prospect. Okay, so then in that case, I might just, not that I would ever manipulate someone's service time, but yeah, we'll have to see. Or if he becomes a top 100 prospect potentially going into the season, which he could. But yeah, he's in the mix for it. Straps probably will start in the minors, just given that he needs a little bit more development. But I want to get him experience in spring training. Bello and Ferris probably will be in competition for that 5th starter spot, with Desan Hill maybe as an outside chance, given that he projects decently well as a starter as well. Clevenger is another name that, he is just kind of the odd man out right now between Swim, Straps, and him. He still looks very good. So I don't know. He could be a starter for sure. We might use him in relief. His numbers in AAA were good, but not amazing. He's 24. We'll have to see. Oh yeah, and then Cutter Coffee, I'm having him pitch for fun in spring training just to see, he does have that two-way potential. We were kind of using him that way to begin with, before. The CPU likes to use him in weird situations. This is, I think, in my mind, very obviously a guy that, okay, you could use him in long relief or very not high leverage situations, and so I put him in as long relief, avoid high leverage, and then the CPU continued to put him in, decently high, like a 2-run ball game or something. And it's no, that's not how he should be used. I'd rather just not have him pitch at all if that's how he's going to be used. So again, some weird stuff there. I've got Spencer Browning, who's a Rule 5 pick, just cross training basically at this position, and same with Gamble. he's got some experience at third base, but I'm just getting that a little bit higher so we can truly have him be like backing up at every slot. Not much else to report there. I mean, neither of those guys are going to be the starters for the start of the season. Yeah, and we'll probably get Perdomo sometime at second too, just so he could potentially fill in there if needed. But yeah, that's kind of our plan going into spring training, and preseason predictions. I always like to look at that, and they have us predicted to finish pretty similarly to last season. I think that was maybe our exact record last season. No, we went 92-70 last season, 95-67 in 2029. So that was our exact 2029 record. Actually, slightly worse last year than the year before, which is interesting. But they have us predicted to be the top team in the AL over the Mariners and the Yankees, which would be surprising. And then the Dodgers and Nationals are predicted to be very good this year. How did they do last year? They did well, but didn't make the playoffs, so they must have added some players as we go to off-season summary by team. Yeah, I mean, they added Min-Soo Kim, Peyton Graham. I don't know why they're so high on them this year as opposed to last year. The Phillies gained 7.4 WAR. Who did they add? Roman Anthony via trade. Okay, and signed Corbin Carroll. That would do it. Who did they trade for Roman Anthony? Josh Lanew looks like a good pitching prospect, but still decently far away and fragile. And Henry Fiermonte, who looks like more of a throw-in. So, okay, yeah, I would have made that trade, shoot. Although, he is only under salary for one more season. So, he'll be a free agent in 2031, so he's kind of a rental for them. In that case, it makes a bit more sense, but it is a full year rental, I suppose. And Jackson Holiday ended up signing with the Braves. I guess I didn't look into that to see where all the big names signed. Jackson Holiday with the Braves for what was his final contract. So 8 years, $320 million. Like, yeah, that's a lot of money. But probably worth it for a guy like Jackson Holiday. I mean, he's going to be great into his 30s, I would imagine. So the Rangers, who did they add? And I also want to see where Evan Carter went. They added Noel V. Marte via trade with Cincinnati. Cincinnati just trading like crazy. Okay. So Tomás Haraculamo, Julio Carraz, Joel Garcia, Rob Plante. So just a solid smattering of prospects there for Marte. And he signed through 2032 with a player option. And the Reds retained 75% of his salary as well. So, and where did Evan Carter end up going? Let's see. To the Cubs. Okay, the Cubs signed Evan Carter for 8 years, $300 million. Yeah, like I'd rather have the Holiday contract than the Evan Carter contract. Like that, there's no opt-outs or anything. Like, with direct injury proneness, I fear that's going to age very poorly for them. But Evan Carter also still a very good player when he's healthy, so we'll see. And the Cubs, I know they signed someone else that was an interesting... Oh, Brent Rooker, that would be it. Yeah, he signed with them for 3 years, 8.5 per year, last year a vesting option. So, yeah, that's not money I wanted to give him to come back, really. And they also signed Adley Rutschman, who... yeah, has done well with the Orioles throughout this save. Maybe starting to fall off a little bit. as the Orioles signed Priester and Gilbert in free agency, so boosting their starting pitcher is pitching. They lose Kyle Bradish to Texas. Um, yeah, and we're sixth in WAR gained. I think that's solely from our trade for Nick Kurtz. Yeah. Oh, and Brock Burke. Brock Burke had a solid amount of WAR last year, so yeah. As we lose Anderson, Rooker, DeLuca in free agency. DeLuca signs with Boston for $4.3 million. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's go through spring training. I'll let you know if there's any major injuries or anything. Otherwise, I'll update you on dev lab things and who ends up making the final roster. I don't think there's too many question marks up in the air for that. But some of the backups, some of the Rule 5 guys, like, might be interesting. Like, Gamble right now, I think, has the inside track to be, like, our utility guy, but, not impossible. Someone like Montero, if he has a good spring training, might make the team. Um, there's also the question mark of Cooper Kinney. If he has a good spring training, will he potentially make the team coming out of spring training? And yeah, we'll have to see. I'll let you know what the final roster is as soon as spring training's done. So here we go. We are at opening day. Some interesting roster things, mostly as expected, but we'll get into that in just a second. First, I'll do the development lab results. Mostly good, I'd say. DeJesus' bat speed was successful. His power went up. Still looking quite good. Hopefully, he continues to develop at AA. Probably we'll see AAA sooner rather than later as well. Sharpton. His BABIP improved by less than 5. He was borderline making the team, just outright out of spring training. I think he'll be one of the first to get called up if we have any injuries or anything. But for now, he's starting the year at AAA because he did struggle there last year. AAA actually started before the major leagues did, so he's off to a good start here. This year, outstanding defense for Jonathan Northington, who was a 3.5 star potential, went down to 2.5, but his defense does look better now. So we'll see how he does at rookie league ball. Poor result for Nate Engberg, but does no noticeable changes. His ratings didn't go down, so that's good. No improvement for Grant, Dupuis, and Tsutsumi defense. And then Wade Shelley, outstanding result. He is now a 70 overall, stealing, 70 base running. Yeah, he's actually up to a 3-star potential at center field. So there you go. He, is on the team. He's our starting right fielder. Spoilers. So this is how I'm going to do the pitching rotation to start the year. This was kind of an interesting one because, like I said, the top 4 spots were pretty locked up coming out of spring training. Snelling really struggled this year in spring training as he, I had him starting as a starter, and then he did some in relief. Brought his ERA back up to 5.11, but really struggled outside of relief. So he's going to start the year as my 4th starter. Jones, Imanaga, Bautista all did fine, I think. The 1 through 3. And then Swim will start at our 5th slot. He, we could send him back down, play the service time game, but I think right now it makes the most sense for me to just go with my best possible rotation, and I think he's part of it right now. Ferris and Bello both were options, I'd say, but both did not have great spring trainings, at least by FIP. Bello with a 9.35 ERA, that's not great. And then Ferris, almost the opposite of last year when it comes to his stats. Had a good FIP in spring training, or at least decent, but then bad ERA 6.43. So both of them will start in relief. Griffin Jacks will start the year as our closer, as his overall has declined a little bit, but his stats haven't really gone down, so I'm okay with that. Fernandez and Snyder were also good last year. They'll start the year as our setup men. Landon Ropp will slot into middle relief along with Correa, Leiter, and Burke. And actually, I'll have Burke used more often. He has declined a little bit, it looks like, at least in terms of his potential. But I'm not too concerned. Again, it looks like in terms of actual ratings drop. Well, no, it was just his stamina in 2028, and he still looks fine. So, yeah, I'm okay with that. And then Marcus Phillips is an interesting name. He actually makes the team. Has not played in the major leagues yet. I think I still need to add him to the active roster, in fact, or the 40-man roster. And I think that's the only one who does need to be added. He is an interesting case because he added a screwball to his repertoire in the offseason. Also had some nice velocity and control improvements. And he had like a decent, well, not great year at AAA last year, but his ratings look good. I think he can slot in and help in the bullpen. He had a good spring training. We'll see. I don't mind adding him and seeing how he does, especially since we have some. We're got several guys that are kind of taking up time as starters in AAA. And I don't necessarily want him there at the moment. And then our starting lineups for the year. At catcher, Baldwin will start. Moss actually does make the team, our Rule 5 pick, over Bodine. Bodine will start the year in AAA. Moss just had a better spring training, and he actually had a really good spring training with an OPS over 1,000, and their ratings are pretty similar. And Moss is a Rule 5 pick, so I don't have the option of sending him down. He's going to start the year as our backup catcher. Coffey will be our starting first baseman. Kinney does make the team. He also had a pretty solid spring training. Not amazing, but good enough for him to start the year on the team. Although I'm wary, given last year, he's going to start as a backup for now. Volpe, Perdomo, Santana as the rest of our starting infield. That shouldn't be a surprise. Zapata, Crow, Armstrong, Shelley as our outfield. I don't think any of those are particularly surprising. And then Kurtz is our DH, who we traded for. Again, his overall's gone down slightly, but his actual ratings I don't think have declined at all. So he should be fine. And then against left-handed pitching, does switch up a little bit, at least in the outfield. Keyshaw and Martinez start over with Shelley at center field over Armstrong, and Zapata shifts to DH because Kurtz is a lefty and does not bat well against left-handed pitching. Everything else is largely the same, I think. And then our other backups, we've got Gamble. He's our utility guy. He can play literally every position besides catcher, at least passably well. So he will start in that role for us. Spencer Browning was another Rule 5 pick, and he had a pretty good spring training and will look to play some as a backup. And then Keyshaw, Martinez, both of those guys slot in against lefties and will be outfield depth, with Martinez, as a good... I have him third in order for the DH after Kinney, just because I want to get Kinney some time at the beginning of the season to kind of see, is he back for real or is he going back to the minors? He does still have 2 option years left, but this is kind of a make or break year for him. And then We got Levi Sterling off of waivers from Pittsburgh. Hopefully he'll pass through again. He was solid last year. We'll see if he passes through and I can stash him in the minors. Clevenger and Strapadopoulos both had pretty good spring trainings. Clevenger struggled in his last spring training start. Oh no, this was a AAA start. Okay, so he struggled in that start, but finished with a 3.95 ERA in spring training, and then Strapadopoulos also, 4.9. No, he finished with a 9 ERA in spring training. So his spring training was not amazing. But both of these guys look like they're knocking on the door in terms of potential, potentially on overall ratings. Dasan Hill also starting the year in the minors because he had not a great spring training, and because I'd like to ideally get him some experience as a starter, although he's currently being used as a reliever. I might have to manually adjust some things because I don't really want like Jose Guevara starting. I don't really care about him, although he's doing well so far. And then Sharpton starts in AAA. I don't think there's many other. Yeah, Zimmerman got some time but struggled in spring training. He'll start at AA. Same with DeJesus, who actually had a pretty. No, he didn't have a good spring training, but he'll start at AA. And everyone else is fairly far away from the majors, so likely will be not make a huge impact this season if I had to guess. So that will do it for our roster and preseason predictions as the year starts. They predict us to win 99 games, which seems high to me. Our team was good last year. I don't know if it's nearly a 100-game winner good, but we also have a fairly weak division, I think, at least in terms of projections. Interesting that the Royals are predicted now to win the AL South, and the Mariners are predicted to not do well. Did they lose? I guess they did lose their ace, but they bring back a lot of the same guys on. Oh, why is RJ Austin starting for? Okay, well, that might be why. Julio Rodriguez has a day-to-day injury to start the year, but if they're maybe just not taking that into account because he's injured, I'm guessing. If I had to guess. And then, no huge surprises in the rest of like the NL, except the Nationals, who I kind of looked at earlier, I believe. But anyway, that will do it, I believe, for this episode. Just making sure I covered everything. Not a super eventful off season, but we were good last year. We didn't have to make a lot of dramatic changes. Just wanted to kind of keep up, and I'm excited to see what Swim can do in the rotation. Excited to see if Clevenger and the Straps will make it up to the majors this year. Will Cooper Kinney actually become a valuable contributor again? We got guys like Wade Shelley, Martinez, Zapata, maybe Gamble that could continue to develop as well. It should be an interesting season. So hopefully I'll see you there for the start of the 2031 season. And thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that, good stuff, whatever. I do this mainly for fun. Tell all your OOTP loving friends if you liked it. So have a good one, and thanks for watching.